Hey, it's Kirk, the Crypto Expat, back with another video for you on EMP Money. I want to start by saying that I am not a member of the EMP team, but I am an investor and I'm very bullish on the project. And these videos are just my way to give back to the community, and I'm hoping that they help out people that are not only new to EMP, but maybe even new to DeFi itself, like I was not that long ago. These videos are not intended to be financial advice, they're for educational purposes only. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. Today's video is going to be on the detonator, and this is something I wanted to do since I started working on these videos. But there's a lot of information to go through here to understand the detonator, and so therefore this is probably going to be the longest video that I've done so far. So get an appropriate beverage and sit back and take all of this in with me. So before I start looking at the detonator itself, I also wanted to mention that EMP offers a free academy that covers everything in the ecosystem, including the detonator. So as you can see here, there's a whole section on the detonator inside the academy with 3 different videos to take a look at. So if you haven't looked at those yet, I highly encourage you to do so. And by the time you get done with those and this one, you should have a pretty good idea of how the detonator works and also how it might fit into your overall strategy on the platform. Okay, so what I'm going to endeavor to do today is to literally take you through everything that you see here on the interface and explain what it is. So let's start at the very top with deposit your EMP ETH LP into the pool and earn back 365%. Okay, well, at the very basic level, what is EMP ETH LP? Well, that is the token that you use, that you deposit into the detonator, and that is the token that you are paid back in your daily rewards out of the contract. But what is it? Well, it's actually made up of 2 different tokens. It's made up of the EMP native token as well as Ethereum, BEP20 Ethereum. So it's 50% EMP, 50% Ethereum, combined together creates LP. Okay, so, well, how do I get that? Well, there's 2 ways that you can create your LP. The first way is you can do it yourself in PancakeSwap. If you don't know how to create LP in PancakeSwap, I actually have another video that covers that entire process, so you can check that out if you're interested in learning how to make LP yourself. The other option is you can do what is called zap, and zapping in lets the detonator contract itself make the LP for you. So that's sort of an easier way to do it. You will pay a little bit more in gas fees in order to do it that way, but it's very convenient versus learning it yourself. Just kind of depends on how you want to approach it. So you have those 2 options of how to deposit, but in both cases, you're ultimately depositing in EMP ETH LP into the detonator. Okay, let's continue on and let's talk about what the detonator actually is. It's a daily ROI contract, which means that it pays out rewards every day based on what you have put into it. And so here's the basic formula. So it's the LP, the EMP ETH LP that you put in, times 3.65 is the max payout. So here's a little example of what that would look like. So if you put in 10 LP into the detonator, your max payout over time would be 36.5 LP. EMP ETH LP times 365 equals max payout. Okay, but over what period of time? And this is kind of where the 365 comes in. The 365 is the number that you will receive as long as the contract is operating, and it comes to you daily, as we just mentioned, at approximately 1% a day. Now, sometimes it's more than 1%, and sometimes it's less. It's based on various factors, but regardless of how much you're getting every day, you still will get a total of 365. So you need to understand that. So some days, again, less than 1, some days more than 1, but the overall 365, approximately 1% a day, gives you the idea that it's going to take about a year to get back your max payout on any given deposit that you make. So you need to understand that, because you need to understand the time commitment that you're getting into when you make deposits into the detonator. This is a contract that helps you to generate income over a long period of time. It's not entirely passive, it's semi-passive, because you do have to come up here and claim your daily rewards. But this is a longer term strategy, and you need to make sure that you understand that. Okay, let's move on and talk a little bit about the tokenomics of the detonator really quickly. Basically, the thing that you need to understand at a primary level, it's very important to understand that the deposits that you put into the detonator are locked in the contract. And that means that you cannot take them back out in bulk. So in other words, using the example from before, if I put 10 LP into the contract and 2 days later I decide, oh, I want to go on vacation and I want to use that money for that, you can't take it out. You can only take it out day by day in your daily rewards that you are earning from the contract. So again, make sure that you're committed and you know what you're getting into when you make a deposit into detonator, because that's a long-term commitment. There are also taxes to take into consideration with the detonator, and you see them here. I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but when you make a deposit into detonator, there's a 10% tax, and it's broken up as you see here. 6% of the 10 goes to all the depositors, everybody that's in the detonator contract, including you once you're in. Then there's 3% that goes to the referrer. Now, you may have been given a referral code from somebody you know who is already in the ecosystem, and if that's the case, then they will get 3% of your deposits. If you don't have a referrer, that 3% goes to the treasury. Now, if you don't have a referrer and you'd like one, I'd be more than happy to volunteer. So if you want to say thanks and make me your referrer, my referral code is listed in the description of this video. So, but it doesn't matter whether it's someone you know, it's me, or it's the treasury, somebody's going to get that 3%. And then finally, there's 1% that goes to the treasury, regardless of whether or not they're also getting the 3%. So those are the basic tokenomics of the deposit. When you compound, which is something that I'll explain in a moment, there's no tax surrounding a compound. And then finally, when you claim, which is taking your LP completely out of the system, there's a 20% tax on those claims, and all of that goes back into the pool. Okay, so now we have all of that under our belts in terms of tokenomics. All right, so let's go ahead and start to look at how the contract pays out over time. As we've said, it pays out every day, and it pays out approximately 1% a day. So using the same example that we've been using all along with the 10 LP deposit, and here we have a calendar. So if we started on January 1st and we put that 10 LP in to detonator, we basically would be starting with 0 LP at that point as far as what we had earning back, right? Because that 10 LP is now gone. It's locked into the contract, and we're earning off of it every day. So if we came in and claimed every day for 365 days, then we could potentially have 36.5 LP. So that's how it works. You can see it over time. Now, that's not something that's likely to happen exactly that way. Why not? Well, a couple of reasons. One is that it may not exactly equal 1% a day. So in other words, over the course of a year, it may be less some and more some. And so if over that period of time, there are more days when it's over 1%, then you might get done faster. Same thing if it's more days under, then it might take longer. The other thing to consider is you do have to go every day to claim or compound your daily rewards. And you may not do that every day, right? I mean, that's a big commitment to say that I'm going to come up and I'm going to claim or compound every day. So you may not just be able to do that, obviously. So let's just say, for an example, that out of every given month, you didn't claim 3 days. Well, over a 12-month period of time, that's 36 days that you actually didn't do anything. So you don't lose the money, but you just have to add time. So in other words, you might have to add another month or even 2 months on into the next year to continue to claim before you would get to the full 365 that you were owed based on the max payout. So you need to think about it in terms of that, in terms of time, that when you miss claiming or compounding, or you don't use the full day, any of those scenarios, all you're really doing is adding time to the amount of calendar time that it's going to take you to get that 365. You're still getting it no matter what. So that's an important concept to make sure that you understand. So let's go back now over to the interface and see how this plays out in the actual UI. Okay, the first thing that I want to mention is I'm mentioning these daily everything is done on a daily basis. What determines the day? Well, that's done by this counter here. And a day is reset every day at midnight, 12 a.m. UTC, which is Universal Time. And that actually is in England, I believe. So every day at midnight in England, when the day rolls over there, the contract rolls over. And so right now, as you can see, we're only got 4 hours and 24 minutes left. So when that gets to 0, that's when the contract rolls over and this timer goes back to 24 hours and starts counting down again. So that's the timer for every day. So now, again, depending on where you live, this time may be even later at night than midnight. It may be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so again, if you're saying, well, I may not be able to maximize because I don't want to stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning every day to get the full day of rewards. And that's understandable, but again, you have to remember what we were just talking about, that you are not losing those rewards if you either don't do it for a full day or you only do it for a part of a day. You are still going to get those rewards. You're still going to get the set 365. It's just going to take you a little longer. You're going to add time onto your calendar, as we talked about before. So understand that you are not losing any LP value. It's just a little bit more time that you have to add on. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at these interface items and just explain what they are. Okay, we'll start with pool balance. Basically, what that's showing you here is what is the current pool balance in LP here currently. So right now it's 45,018 LP, which at today's dollar value equals a little over $3 million. Now that can fluctuate a lot depending on what the price of EMP and the price of Ethereum is at any given time. When I'm recording this, the markets are way down, so that dollar value is down as well. But you really want to start to train yourself to think in LP rather than dollar value, because again, as we've discussed, this is a long-term play. You're going to be in the detonator for a long time, and so you're going to see the dollar value go up and down. So what you really want to be concerned on is, am I maximizing my LP? And you will see that if you run the system properly, you will be maximizing and increasing your LP over time. And then when it gets closer to the times that you want to start actually taking profit out, then you might want to be looking at where the dollar value is. But again, as you're working the system of the detonator, you really want to get into the habit of looking more at the LP numbers, not the dollar value numbers. Okay, so then breaking down here, it shows how much LP has been deposited since the beginning of the contract, which was in mid-January. So 155,000 plus LP has been put in to the detonator, and 103,000 plus LP has been taken out of the detonator, which leaves the balance that's up here. And this is total users. So right now there's a little over 2,300 people in the detonator, and this goes up every day by 50 to 100 people, and it's growing nicely. So you can see how many people are in the contract currently. Okay, so let's move over here to this section here, which gives you details on what you're doing in particular. So the first is you've deposited, and this is the total amount of deposits in LP and then dollars underneath that you have put into the detonator. The next one is you've claimed. Now this is showing the money that the LP that you have claimed out of the detonator. Now, I want to make sure that you understand that a lot of people that are just learning about the detonator get confused because they see a number here when all they've done is compounded. And we haven't talked about compounding yet, but what compounding is basically taking your daily earnings or rewards, and instead of claiming them out of the system, you compound them and so roll them back in to the detonator. That's called compounding. Now, some people will say, well, okay, I deposited that 10 LP to start with, and every day for the last month, I've just compounded all of it back into the contract. Why do I have a number over here showing that I've claimed? Well, because that's the way the contract works, meaning that when you compound, it's coming out as if it was a claim, but then it's immediately redepositing it into the contract. So you will see a claim number on a compound, but then you'll also see that your deposit number will go up by the same amount because you've now just redeposited that number. So hopefully that makes sense, that you're going to, when you, if you choose to compound versus claiming straight out of Detonator and into your MetaMask wallet, both of those are going to show up as a claim. But in the compound case, it's going to go back as a new deposit into your contract. And that also means you're going to get a new 365 on that amount. So it'll show up here, and then the max payout will show that as well, because this max payout is simply 3.65 of whatever this is. So that's the way that the system works, so that it does show up as a claim when you compound, but then it shows up as a new deposit that you're getting a new 365 on. So you be aware of that when you do compounding. The other thing that's a benefit of compounding is that it says, as you see there, 20% savings. And what that means is, as you remember from the tokenomics, when you claim and literally take the LP out of the contract completely and into MetaMask, you pay that 20% tax. When you compound, that tax is not charged because you're rolling it back into the contract. So there is no tax for that event. So it just takes the amount and then redeposits it back into the contract. So that's the difference there. So we know what max payout is. It's 3.65 of everything that you've deposited or compounded deposit into the contract. And now daily burst. This is another area where people get a little confused and maybe hung up. Daily burst is a representation of the minimum amount that you should be receiving in LP and or dollars there every day, based on your share of the pool, which is the percentage shown below. Now, this number can go down as well as go up. And you have to realize that sometimes as we get more and more people coming into the contract and putting more and more money in, that can dilute your percentage share, which is going to potentially dilute your daily burst. But you have to remember that having more money coming into the system is good for the contract, and it's good for you, and it is overall increasing the amount that you can potentially earn, even though the daily burst may at times go down. So don't get all hung up on the daily burst. It's good information and you want to pay attention to it, but it moving around is sort of a part of the system as it was designed. The multiplier is simply a way for the dev team to, at some point, if they choose to create an incentive for new deposits, basically giving you more than 1-to-1 on your LP deposits. They haven't used it yet, and they may never, but that's what it is. You'll probably just see it sit there at 1 for a long time. Okay, moving on. The referral link. This is your referral link, so that if you want to pass along a referral link to somebody else in order to claim the 3% on their deposits, you can. However, you need to know that in order to get a referral link, you have to have some skin in the game. You have to have some money in the detonator. I think it's only 0.15 LP. It's not a lot, but you have to have something in there in order for it to generate the referral link. Otherwise, if you click on it and you don't have anything in here, it will throw up an error and tell you you can't have a link. So, but if you want that and you want to give it to somebody, that's where you get it. It just copies it right into your clipboard, and then you can share it with whoever you want. Okay, let's take a closer look at depositing into the detonator, as we've talked about before, our LP. So again, we also talked about the two ways, either zapping it in or depositing. When you're doing a deposit, that basically means you already have EMP ETH LP created and in your MetaMask wallet and ready to go. So what it will do is it will show how much is available here. I don't have any in this demo wallet, but it will show that amount. And so you can either choose to put the max in, all that you have, or you can put any portion of that in by just manually typing in the numbers. And now we get into another thing that's probably the most exciting thing about the detonator altogether, and that is the daily lottery. So you'll see here that it says daily lottery 0.15 per ticket. Now what that means is 0.15 LP. That's not 15 cents. That's 0.15. Now that's not really a cost per ticket because these are really a bonus, but you get tickets, one ticket for every 0.15 LP that you're depositing. So, for instance, if let's say you were depositing a half an LP, that's 0.5 LP. So the closest divisible of max divisible of that in 1.5 is 4.5. So you would get 3 lottery tickets for that deposit of 0.5 LP. That extra 5 on there end doesn't count, and you can't combine it over time during a day. It's always a one-to-one transaction. So if you did a second deposit later that day, you wouldn't get the leftovers onto that new deposit, if that makes sense. So you get these lottery tickets based on 0.15. And you can get up to 50 of them every day on deposits. Okay, so that's how you make deposits. So you just set up this deposit, how much you want, and then you hit confirm, you approve the MetaMask transaction, and then it just deposits that LP into your into the detonator rather. Okay, so that's depositing existing LP into the detonator. Zapping is similar. The interface is a little different. It shows, again, here you have a choice of 4 different tokens that you can use to make LP, and the detonator contract will do this for you. So you can choose, you can only choose one. So you can say either BNB, Ethereum, eShare, or EMP tokens I want to use to create my LP. So you select which token that you want to use. It will then show you how much of that token you have available. And then again, you can say max, or you can put in a number yourself here. Now, you'll notice it doesn't say anything about lottery tickets here. You are still getting lottery tickets using the exact same formula as if you were just straight depositing, meaning that same 0.15 LP. Once it creates the LP for you and it knows how much LP it's bringing in, then it will give you lottery tickets based on that same scale. So you still get credit for lottery tickets when you zap. So then basically you just put this in, you hit zap, and it creates it for you, and it deposits the LP into the detonator contract. In the farms in EMP, if you have any experience with those, there's a zap functionality there too. But when it zaps and makes LP for you, it leaves it in MetaMask. It doesn't deposit it for you. But here in the detonator, it will do that for you. So it does it all in one step. So it will make the LP and deposit it for you. So that's basically all you need to know there. Okay, moving on, since we were talking about the lottery, here's 2 different pieces of information. Now, there are 2 different prizes that are given out every day. One of them is the top deposit prize, which is the person who has deposited the most in that amount of LP in that 24-hour period of time. The other winner is a random winner picked out of those lottery tickets that I was just talking about, that everybody gets for doing deposits or compounding. So 2 prizes, and each prize is 1% of the pool balance. So as you can see here, it's 45,015. That means that 1% is 450.15 and 450. So it's not a split of 1%. Each winner gets 1%. So again, we really want to think about in terms of LP, but just to give you an idea of the scope of it, in today's dollar value, and again, the market's down right now quite substantially, but still, this is almost $30,000 for each winner. So that's like $60,000. And we do this every single day. So if you have a lottery ticket, even one, you have a chance to win that kind of money, LP, every day. Now, keep in mind, though, that if you do win the lottery, that LP is automatically put into the contract. You don't get that in one lump sum. It comes in and gets applied to this you've deposited into the contract. And so you have to start taking it out daily, just like anything else. But the other great thing is that because it's now considered a deposit, you're also going to get $365 on that winning. So your max payout will go crazy. So, I mean, in other words, at $30,000 right now, that's like around $100,000 over the time period. So it's just fantastic. So you want to be looking at trying to be involved in the lottery as often as you can, right? Because you have a real great chance of winning potentially life-changing money. So inside of this section, you can open these up, and inside the top prize, it will just show you who the current leader is. So right now, the current leader had put in 134.72 LP, and so again, the award of this happens on this same rollover time. So in 4 hours and 9 minutes, who's ever the largest depositor at that moment will get this prize. Down here in the lottery section, if we look at this shows how many tickets you have in the daily lottery, how many total tickets have been given out, ticket price, etc. And you'll see here that you can get 50 tickets for depositing, and you can get 50 tickets for compounding. So you can potentially get a total of 100 tickets a day if you're depositing fresh money to the max and compounding the max. You can get up to 50 in each one of those scenarios. So you can get up to 100 tickets per day potentially. Okay. If you do win the lottery, it will not only show up here in your you deposited, but it'll also show up here in your winnings, and you'll see it all here. This is also, by the way, if you do give your referral code to someone and they make deposits, your rewards, your 3% rewards are shown over here too under referral rewards. So this is where all this extra stuff that you might be earning in the Detonator shows up here under the your winnings section. Okay. To finish out here, we're going to talk about your rewards section. And again, this is displayed in LP. You do get a dollar amount as well based on the current price. But again, that can fluctuate a lot based on the price of the two tokens involved. And again, as you get closer to the rollover period here, it should start to be coming close to or over the daily burst, which again was an estimate, right? So you're building up during the day your rewards. Now you can choose to claim or compound as many times as you would like during a given day, depending on your circumstances. Most people, I think it's fair to say, only do it maybe once or twice a day, depending on how much they have. Now, again, we want to talk a little bit about strategy here and understanding what you're doing here by both of these things. Again, when you're compounding, you are rolling over the money, the LP, back into the contract. You're not paying any tax for that. And so the big benefits of that is that you are then, as we discussed earlier, that's considered a new deposit up here, and you're going to get the 365 on that new amount. So you're earning LP, you're redepositing it, so you're compounding, and that's the magic of compound interest. It's very important to understand that, and it's very important to understand that that's the power. I would venture to say that almost everybody that's in the Detonator is not putting in an amount and never compounding. They're just claiming every day to get just the 365. No, they want to build their bag in the Detonator over time by compounding. In fact, The common wisdom is that there's either called the 6-1 or the 5-2 strategy, which simply means 6-1 is compound 6 days, claim 1 day. 5-2 is compound 5 days, claim 2 days. Nobody is recommending or saying that you shouldn't take profits out of the detonator, but you want to have a good strategy to where you can take maximum advantage of what you've put into the detonator by compounding it and stretching out that time, those number of days that you can be claiming over time. So it's good for the health of the contract by compounding, and also good for you because then you're earning more on that compounded amount. So you can set up whatever strategy you like, but it's fair to say that for the good of the system, which is also good for you, you should definitely be compounding more than you claim. But just how much, that's totally up to you. I'm just saying that most people follow either the 6-1 or the 5-2 strategy. Okay, down here, simply listed to yesterday's winners is just the wallet addresses of the person who won for the last lottery, and then the person who won the wallet address of the person who won the random drawing, so that if you want to verify this stuff on chain, you can. And then finally here is just some basic instructions, stuff that we have already talked about in depth here today. So this is the detonator. If you have any questions beyond what we've covered here, please feel free to reach out on either Telegram or Discord and ask questions. There's tons of people there that have a lot of knowledge and are more than happy to help. I hope that this video has been helpful, and I wish you the greatest success using EMP Money.